Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to another of our ad hoc video series, which is basically what is this Claude Code thing and how does it work? And this all for those of you who are just tuning in or who have not caught up on the last few episodes yet. Yeah, all kinds of stuff is changing in software development, and it has taken more time to keep up with it than I have been able to invest over the last 6 months or so. And so I pinged Randall and said, "Oi, help! What is this Claude Code thing? Do I need to learn how to kill another fellow with a spear and make a toilet out of mud to survive in the future of the software industry? Or is this all just going to blow over and it's all just a big bubble and it's all going to be fine, or what?" And of course, neither of those things is remotely true.
Yes.
Although I do know how to make a toilet out of mud and fire, so you want me on your team if the apocalypse does actually happen. But if it does happen, it's not going to be because of Claude Code.
I know how to make food out of bananas.
That's not a useful skill.
No? Oh, okay.
Peeling is not a... Did you know?
That's cooking,
bananas,
isn't it?
So there used to be like 100 billion different kinds of bananas, and then they went, no, there will be one banana. There will be only the Cavendish banana. And the person who popularized the Cavendish banana as the overwhelmingly dominant strain of almost all bananas that are grown on this planet for food consumption was Joseph Paxton, who was the architect of the Crystal Palace.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did know that before it was the Cavendish, it was the Gros Michel, I believe. It was the Gros something.
Yeah, which would never do.
And there was a fungus or a blight or something that targeted that specific strain of banana.
Yeah.
And so they had to go, all right, we need a different banana.
So
and you can still get the Gros Michel.
So the rookie mistake that a lot of people make with a banana is that they peel it from the stalky end, but actually you should peel it from the other end, because then you can peel it and you can hold the stalk while you eat it. So it's got a little handle like a lollipop.
No.
Yeah, no. When you're finished, yeah. So and then you throw it away cleanly.
I'm not having this. No. But no, the Gros Michel, I saw a Hank Green video on this, and banana flavor.
Yeah.
The reason that banana flavor doesn't really taste like banana is that banana flavor tastes like what banana used to taste like. And so it tastes like the Gros Michel. It doesn't taste like Cavendish, and they haven't updated it. So that's, like erythromycin, the antibiotic that comes in two flavors, strawberry and banana. And the discerning child would always prefer the banana flavor. But yes, it was Gros Michel flavor in particular.
I developed an allergy to erythromycin when I was 25. I took it as a kid and it was absolutely fine. And then when I was 25 years old, I took antibiotics and I got a weird rash all over me, like I was being bitten by ants. And I went to the doctor and then, oh yeah, you're allergic to this, penicillin and variants. And I went, oh, that's good to know. And he said, did you know this before? I'm like, no. And I rang my mum and I was like, am I allergic to penicillin? She went, no. I went, oh.
I am now.
Yeah. Yes. Medical science. Hello, Aneroid X. Good afternoon for us. Friday afternoon here in London, where we're still in that part of the year, and we are on Universal Coordinated Time for another month or so before it all goes a little bit strange again.
Also known as UTC because the abbreviation, the acronym is French.
Yes. And we have been... so I just want to, before we get into kind of hacking stuff today, so we've got into one... kind of today the formula would just be very much like yesterday.
Yes.
We would open Claude and we'd be like, do phase 3, and it'll do phase 3, and then we'd put the reviewer hat on Claude and go review phase 3, and it'll go, that's not right, whatever, and we'll fix it, and then we'll be right, that's done, and we could come back next week and do phase 4 and phase 5 and phase 6. But before we get into that, so there's a couple of kind of bigger questions. It's been quite interesting to me, some of the comments that people have been leaving on these videos and things. And there's one that someone commented on one of the streams yesterday. As a blog post, so what they actually said is, I'm conflicted. As a blog post, this would be a great read, but as a YouTube video, I feel it comes too close to promoting, in quotes, the LLMs that I'm sick of seeing. And so first of all, this is not promotion by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely not.
Very hard to come into this with a completely open mind. What we have done, so on the one hand, some of the things we've done have been genuinely astonishing, and I've looked at them and been like, wow, I did not expect that to work. On the other hand, you have two very experienced developers working on a technology stack that both of us have, easily broken Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours of trench with .NET. We have been working flat out on this for about, collaborating two heads working on the same code base for 3 days now. And we've got a WPF form that can play MP3 files. Now,
and an MP4 file.
And a video, and it can play a video. And most of that has been done by gluing together open source libraries that can already do that stuff, which are available on the internet. Now, obviously, there is a significant, a lot of this has been learning curve and walking through the process of, we started last week. I didn't even have Claude installed. I didn't have an account. So I had to literally register the whole thing and set it up. And yeah, it is.
And, the banana conversations.
And the bobbins, yes, because, well, what is the point of automate? You actually have a banana. Wow. Is that for scale? So we know how big you are.
No, I was a bit poorly last night.
Yeah.
And I had one of those nights where a combination of various pains and not feeling particularly well just meant I didn't sleep. So I am kind of like air. And so this is the first solid food I've had since yesterday afternoon.
So
anyway,
yeah, we're playing with AI. You're slightly sleep deprived and probably prone to the odd hallucination of your own. Good old fashioned meat flavored hallucination. No language models required. But yeah, it is, the difficulty, the huge difficulty with AI is that it will, one of the things David Whitney said in that article we talked about last week is a lot of us have been checking in every couple of months, spending half a day playing with it and going, yeah, this is still no good. And, for me, I have always been or tried to be absolutely militant about stuff the hype. I don't care about the future. What problem does your thing solve that I have now? And, a lot of the time, sales pitches will very rapidly fall apart because they're like, oh, well, this allows you to do analytical engagement and data-driven decisions. And I'm like, we're not having a problem making decisions right now. Our problem is our website's too slow. How does your thing make it faster? Our problem is we can't hire people who know this stack. What do we do about it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it is... what is the problem that it solves right now? And for me, that problem comes down primarily, it is a problem of, I think, professional ethics. Because all the things that I am getting, well, actually, it's two problems. One is the things I am getting hired to do. I've been doing this a long while. I teach workshops and I write code and I do all of that using, the modern versions of all of the tools. But hello, Buttons. Nice to see you on the stream. But I've had the relative luxury of being able to set my own pace and my own deadlines for the last 5 years or so. And so I'm like, am I still teaching the stuff that I should actually be teaching people? Is this representing best practice, state of the art, whatever you want to call it? And obviously there is a point where people just keep flogging the same old content until one day they're like, oh, I haven't sold any tickets in a year. I guess that's dead now. Or they keep shipping the same code and, working at their employer. And I don't know if you saw the news about Anthropic can do COBOL now.
Oh,
and
yes.
A bunch of people who do actually do COBOL are going, no, all of the institutional knowledge about COBOL is in proprietary code bases that are not on GitHub, and there is no way in hell that Anthropic has been allowed anywhere near them. And that's the value. And they did then say COBOL is so popular because it's the best language to solve business problems, which I smelled a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. But,
yes, COBOL isn't the best language for anything.
Well, yeah, but replacing it is proving to be very, very complicated indeed.
Kick off in the comments now, but no, add 1 to X giving X is no way to say X++.
It remains absolutely true that if in the last 24 hours you have done anything involving travel or money or possibly medicine, your data has gone through a COBOL system in the course of making that happen, because there's a lot of it out there. And, you know, IBM is still selling $250,000 Z95 mainframes that will run the COBOL that your grandfather wrote in 1964, unmodified, and it won't crash. And nobody else is making those kinds of guarantees.
No.
So,
and IBM have an ongoing thing. And actually, they announced this like a couple of years ago. They've got a build of Java that targets the mainframes. They've created an extensive library to cope with kind of COBOL idiosyncrasies. And they've trained Watson to rewrite COBOL into this Java.
I think the use of the past tense there is marketing more than fact.
Yes,
they have been making a series of incremental announcements. Like a lot of this stuff, I'm like, if this was true, then we would be seeing stories about banks throwing away mainframes, and we would be it would look different when you booked a plane ticket. And
yes,
you know, the idea that Watson X is magically going to replace all of the COBOL with Java. One, great, now your 50-year-old legacy business process is in Java, which is maybe a better place to start than having it in COBOL, but it still doesn't solve all your problems. But no, it's you know, I think that is a good example of, you know, IBM is a phenomenal company. What's the statistic? They've averaged 4 patents a day for more than a century.
Yes.
And yeah, just astonishing. Like research and development, people today are like, IBM's not cool. And they kind of never were, because they always had the white suits and the black ties and the IBM song at the company picnic. But they've
I think one of those patents was for thumbs. So, yeah.
Yeah, they invented ATMs, they invented swipe cards, they invented like everything, like all of it.
Yes.
They invented most of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and they are like, you know, we have an actual business case here. If we can use language models to turn COBOL code into Java code and do like-for-like replacement, that is worth real money to a lot of actual customers who are not burning investment. They are making revenue out of selling real things to real people. So
the other thing that LLMs are very good at within this sort of space is when you have 1 million lines of code or 10 million lines of code or whatever is currently running the international travel agent and flight booking system, it's very difficult to get a handle on how it's structured and what bits are doing what and all that sort of stuff. Using an LLM, just kind of like going, can you document this code base for me? And then just going off and leaving it to it is astonishingly useful.
Yeah.
It's really, really helpful.
And
also,
it also something Ian Cooper said in this is a LinkedIn post talking about Brighter, which is Coop's open source project messaging platform. And it said something, the thing about AI is out of the box, it's right 60% of the time. If you know what you're doing, you can get that up to 80. And if you put in automated checks and guardrails and balances, you can probably get it to 95. And 95 is good enough for a lot of software.
Yes.
Which I thought was a very kind of, you know, insightful. Yeah, actually, that's we like to delude ourselves that we are all flawless engineers who write perfect code, and every bug we ever shipped to production was because the requirements were unclear, or because we didn't have enough time, or because there was a bug in the runtime. But, you know, we make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Most of the bugs that I've ever shipped are because I either missed something, or I misunderstood something, or I just, you know, didn't do the legwork to figure out how it was supposed to work.
Yep. Or it was a Friday afternoon and you were tired.
Yes.
And your mind was elsewhere.
Yes, as was frequently. We actually at one point mooted we should just go to the pub at lunchtime on Fridays to prevent anyone writing any code on a Friday afternoon. It did not last, but it was a nice idea. So that's what we should be doing with productivity improvements, you know.
Yes.
So yes,
So
if you work at five, yeah, let's crank it up. But the other thing that I'm interested in is let me open up the terminal and we'll fire up Claude and we'll do where were we? Where did we get to?
Yes.
But then the other thing is I care a lot about software that looks nice and is, you know, I'm not sharing audio, so if we do anything with audio, remind me I'll need to turn that on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm very, very invested in user, like interface design and user experience design. And one of the things that I am curious about with this kind of project is, so right now we've got a sort of stub on the front end. Let me go into CD Claude stuff, wherever we were, that's it. And CD publish. And so this is where we got to. We got this little project called videojam.exe. And if you open videojam right now, you get this breathtaking work of staggering beauty, which works. You know, it validates everything so far that we have asked it to work. And if I press play here, I will hear music. He says confidently.
It's just got a...
Okay, that's really interesting. I never clicked load video, but it played a video. So,
well, it's scanning the directory for files, isn't it?
Yeah, which means this button here is a dumb button that doesn't do anything.
Yep. Hey.
And you know, this is the point where I'm like, this is a stub. Like, we're validating the audio-visual pipeline and playback synchronization and those kinds of things, and that has been the brief up to this point. But now, you know, if this was if I was doing this manually, this is the point where I'd be like, right, that's a spike. All of that goes over here. This does not, this code would not evolve into the product. This code would be like my workbench, my reference implementation. And I would now be like, right, I know that I can stub in playback. I know I can stub in folder scanning. All these things, the code is good to go. Let's actually now design the thing. And so the question that I have is, one, at what point do we stop ignoring things like there's a button here that doesn't need to be there, and if you haven't loaded a video, it plays one anyway, those are things that I would not expect to see in a prototype at this stage written by a competent developer who is focused on the thing we are trying to validate. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bit of unnecessary kind of window dressing and stuff. I have certainly worked with developers who would put buttons in that don't do anything and things that play video files they weren't asked to play. But I think kind of the hypothesis we're validating here is Claude better than those kinds of developers, yes or no? You know, at some point on the spectrum, there are people who have no software development experience whatsoever, and you are better off asking Claude to write code than you are asking one of those people to write code, unless you're prepared to wait 12 weeks while they go to a boot camp. And who knows, they might come back and do a great job of it. And I think at the other extreme, there are definitely developers out there who have 20 years of domain experience building COBOL for airlines who are not going to get, you know, never mind replaced. They're not even going to find these kinds of things useful, because the tooling is so orthogonal to the domain and the platforms and languages they work in. And most of us are kind of somewhere on the bell curve between the two. Yeah. So yeah, the interesting question. So Matthew says, do you have a multi-monitors going on? Yes. So the whole point of this little application, so the background for anyone who wasn't on previous streams, I have long wanted a better way to play audio and video when I'm doing live shows with line breakers or doing my own guitar karaoke things, or just, you know, playing music in a bar. And I've always wanted to be able to have a screen in front of me that reminds me what the words and the chords are, because my memory is not what it used to be, and it didn't used to be that good. And then the audience gets to watch a different video so they can see visualizations or, you know, trippy visuals or movie clips or whatever. And I also want to be able to mix in audio tracks in and out. And so what I want to be able to do is to take a laptop into a bar, plug it into a PA system, open a folder full of media files and go, right, I need the drums and the keyboards and the strings, but I don't need bass because Randall's here, and I don't need rhythm guitar because Hannes is here, and I don't need lead guitar because I'll do that bit. And I want the audience to see this video, and I want the band to see that video. Go. And it just plays it. And this is something that I spent a week or so 2 years ago trying to build by hand, and realized quite quickly that it was not impossible, but it was going to be quite a convoluted development process to get all these audio streams synchronized. And halfway through figuring out how to do multi-channel mixing of individual frame samples from WAV files, someone offered me some money to do something else. So I stopped working on it and I did that instead. So yeah, when I press play, what's happening is the video is playing on a dedicated hardware monitor that I will show you the... So this is the Windows control panel for my desktop system, and it has 5 displays, and number 2 is where the thing gets popped up on. So yeah, you can't see the video, but it's there. And if we get to the point where we got multi-video, what I'll do is I'll put a camera behind the desk so we can actually see it. So yes, what I'm interested in, we're going to crank through. So let's start with, we're going to go to Claude. We're going to do Where Were We? Just to kind of, how did we get, where did we get to yesterday? Which is just a lovely thing to be able to do, because I used to leave Post-it notes stuck in the middle of my screen. So I could not start work. Like I couldn't even log in until I reminded myself what I was doing when I had to leave the office yesterday. And then at some point in this, I'm going to want to kind of take the wheel and start fixing the user interface. And at that point, I think having a nice chatty little conversation with a developer that thinks it's a pirate is probably not a good way to refine a WPF user interface. And so I want to see, you know, how do we do this now? Do I get it to generate the XAML code and then I edit it myself and I move things to where they want to be? Do I design it in Figma or Illustrator or something like that and then give it the picture and say, make it look like this? How does it handle things like scaling to different window sizes and docking and stretch controls, all these kinds of things? Right. Which hat should we put on Claude first?
Let's put the developer hat on first.
So let's. So we baked 4 personas. Personae. 4 hats. Claude has 4 hats. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Developer hat. The developer hat has been told to talk like a pirate, and the QA engineer hat has been told to talk like a butler, because those are perfectly normal things to do. And okay, so where did we get to last time? Yeah, do you want to proceed? Okay. The Serena MCP server has popped up in another window. Let's put that one there. That can go on monitor number 5. Micro 500 says those roll files should be named .hat. That is brilliant, and I like that idea. And yeah,
yes. Although I'm not sure that it would, that might confuse Claude as to what was in there, because at the moment the .md does help.
Yeah.
You could just call it
.md.
Yeah, or developer underscore hat, or just call the directory hats.
Pete SS says, are you building skills? No, we are not that advanced. Well, I'm not that advanced. This is the 5th session. They've been about 2-3 hours each. And at the start of session number 1, I had not got a Claude account. I had never installed it, and I had no idea what it did or why everyone was talking about it. 4 sessions in, we've got a sort of spec-driven development workflow with a bunch of Claude personae that we are using to write specs and then verify specs and then write code and then review code. But no, we are not yet building skills because we're not there yet. Okay.
Yes. But what we do have is the skills that come with OpenSpec.
Yeah. So, ahoy, Captain, here be the lay of the land. Let me give ye the full picture. So we got implementation tasks. Oh, that's interesting. We've got uncommitted code on main. We've got 3 manual sync tests. Well, those are done. We did the smoke tests on those yesterday. And then fixes.md. Did we tell the developer had to fix it yesterday?
I don't remember doing that.
Somebody should be recording all of this on a video so we can refer back to.
Wouldn't that be good? Does anyone in the chat remember?
No, we didn't, because we had a hard stop yesterday. So
We
the
had a hard
last thing we
stop at
did
4,
was get
yes.
to QA. Yeah. And I should probably have a hard stop at 4 o'clock today because I need to learn to play Perfect Strangers by Deep Purple on the Hammond organ, because at 8 o'clock I'm doing it in front of a room full of people. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. If anyone's in London and wants to come to the Great Southern Jam Session at the Great Southern Pub in Gypsy Hill tonight, it's going to be awesome. If you're not in London, it's probably a bit far to come. It'll be a lot of fun.
If anyone's in Sheffield and wants to bring me some chicken noodle soup, that'd be lovely.
There you go, internet. You have your instructions. Someone out there going, I'll get my open claw to bring you chicken noodle soup, and a week from now you get chicken noodle soup that's been sat outside for a week.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the developer persona. The fixes.md exists. Yeah, fix all the things.
So yes, this is where OpenSpec's collection of commands and skills that work together comes in quite nicely. I do like the way that it's clever enough. You could have just typed /opsx:apply.
Yeah, but I can't remember
that. But it's more fun to type fix all the things.
Yeah.
But that's it. It runs OPSX apply, so it knows the command that you meant. The code's already we obviously did some of it. The code's already further along than I expected. Let me check what. That's not a pirate. That's a farmer from the West Country.
The accent is very similar because the actor who played Long John Silver in Disney's Treasure Island in a long time ago, 1950s, decided to do it with a Bristolian accent in recognition of the fact that Bristol was a very influential seafaring port.
Yes.
And 2 of the pubs that I used to drink in when I lived in Bristol many years ago, the Llandogga Trow on King Street and the Hole in the Wall, are apparently connected. There's a tunnel that runs between their beer cellars. So when the press gangs would come by looking for sailors, everyone in the pub would go in the back, down the stairs into the beer cellar, run through the tunnel across Queen Square, pop up in the other pub, and keep drinking. And then when the press gang were coming across the square, you'd all duck and run back across to the other one. And the Hole in the Wall was apparently the inspiration for the Spyglass Inn, which is mentioned in Treasure Island.
Yes.
So it's definitely possible that there were actual pirates with a Bristolian accent.
Well, there were Sith in a galaxy far, far away with a Bristolian accent.
That they had to replace that. It's they
did
these with the documentary. This is that thing that it does sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I think that might be. So I'm running, it's a Windows terminal running PowerShell with a thing called Oh My Posh. So there are already 3 layers of, I wouldn't start from here in terms of automating bash for the lowest common denominator. But we haven't had any showstoppers so far, just idiosyncrasy about layout once in a while.
Martin is asking for a roundup of what we've achieved in the last week or so. Do you mean on the stream or just in life generally? I did my 2nd purple at the climbing hangar. That was pretty good. But I think I've sprained the pulley on my middle finger on my right hand, so I'm taking a break for a couple of days.
I played a show on Saturday night where I did a whole bunch of film music, including performing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle rap. And The One and Only by Chesney Hawkes to I'd say a pub full of people, to a pub with some people in it. It wasn't full.
Yes.
Because they all watched the rugby and then went home pissed. Yay, thank you, rugby.
Yes, Micro 500. I took up bouldering about 3 or 4 months ago. You can't. It's difficult to live in Sheffield without getting involved in some form of climbing. It's very. It's like the local sport.
Yeah.
But yes, and at the moment, mainly bouldering. I'm not doing a lot of kind of lead belay type stuff, and all indoor. But the plan is to go out into the peaks once the weather gets a bit nicer and start scraping bits of my skin off on actual rock.
So this is interesting. It's given us 3 tasks. Oh yeah, that we were talking about that right at the end yesterday, weren't we? Yes. So that's cool. That's nice. I remember the other thing we were talking about at the end yesterday is coding conventions, code style, and wanting to get it to not put underscores on private members and to name constants in. Now, I'm going to ask the chat a question here. Have any of you ever heard of a thing called chainsaw case? Because I had a whole like Mandela moment with this, because to me, this sort of naming, where it's block capitals separated by underscores, I have always called that chainsaw case, and I would swear blind that's because I read about it on the internet about 25 years ago. But apparently,
that's train case.
It's yeah. It's not. And I like chainsaw case because it's loud. And screaming snake case.
Oh yes, shouty snake case. Yes.
Okay, so right, focus on what's on the screen right now. Task 2.4: launch the app and call show fallback with a PNG. Now, that's
an interesting instruction.
I mean, we can launch the app, but I do not know how, as humans, we are supposed to call show fallback, because that sounds like the kind of thing you need to do by running a line of code, and apparently we don't do that here.
Yes.
So right, let's spin up another terminal window. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get a D. So just to actually answer Martin's question, we have got as far as a WPF application that can play multiple audio files simultaneously in sync, and a video file targeted onto a specific external display, full screen, that you might use, for like an audience-facing presentation or performance. Good stuff. There's that. And so I want to do a .NET Publish Video Jam -O publish. I should probably not be running the thing we're trying to build, shouldn't I? Yeah. Let's do that again. And so Martin says, is this all without you writing a single line of code? Yes. I don't think at any point we have actually opened up an IDE and typed a line of C# code anywhere.
No, we've looked at some, but we've
looked at it and identified things and added lines to the markdown file saying, please don't do this, and please name all your constants and that kind of thing. So if I start publish now, and that's the folder, and there's Video Jam, and if I okay, so that's the test folder that we set up. Now there is a glitch here. When I hit play, okay, it didn't do it that time. The first time after rebooting Windows, there's always a glitch of about a second before it starts playing media. So there must be something to do with probably the libVLC subsystem.
Or Wasapi.
Or Wasapi, yeah, it could be the audio.
It'll be initializing the Wasapi subsystem in Windows, because it's not loaded by default because it uses a crap load of memory.
I didn't know that.
So it's a start on demand service.
I mean, I do have a crap load of memory, but half of it is up here waiting for someone to offer to swap it for a car. So,
yes.
Okay, so I am now curious. Okay, task 2.4. How do you propose we call show fallback, since it's not hooked into the UI anywhere? How do we verify this bit exactly?
Oh, it's going to be apologetic now. An apologetic pirate is my least favorite kind of pirate.
Rob's prompt file in, shouldn't we? Never apologize, never surrender.
Okay, so I'm going to go through and answer some of these questions. Rendell, how did you learn to use Claude? It seems handy to have a tutor to walk you through this stuff. YouTube. YouTube, and I clicked on a lot of videos that said, this has completely changed how I use Claude. And I think the thing for me that was the transformative moment was discovering OpenSpec and spec-driven development specifically. Vibe coding was never great and I didn't like it. And then when I discovered spec-driven development and I started to layer on some other things like prompt engineering, and now I'm starting to look into context engineering, which is a whole other thing. But yes, and then basically by doing, I used it for work things. I used it for building, for writing Objective-C and Kotlin and Java and Unity and all sorts of different things, Zig, that I generally don't know how to write. And I kind of, over time, and a couple of friends. So Ben Downing. Yes, Mr. Quarreline. I can't remember Ben's surname. That's terrible. Dechrai, yes, who has been immersed in this for a long time, and Heather as well, and Ian Cooper has been sort of, and I don't think any of them have kind of like drunk, and I haven't. I don't think it's a drinking the Kool-Aid and going all in. It is skeptical, cautious, but becoming more and more surprised by how it goes. Martin asks, have you started to care less about the structure and style of the code? You said you're managing the style but not looking at the code, so does it matter? I think, Martin, that Dylan and I will give you very different answers to this. I don't care about the structure and style of the code. I am starting to get to that point where I can see situations where I would use like a JetBrains IDE to help me track down bugs and issues and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't want to type code. And so to me, it doesn't matter what it looks like. But like I said, I think Dylan would have a different answer to that question.
So I think it matters. And like, I don't think it matters enough that I'm not opening the code up in Visual Studio right now and going through and replacing variable names and that kind of stuff. To me, if the tool is as good as we are being asked to believe it is, it should be trivial for it to write my code the way I would like my code to be written. And also, there is this thing that happens at various points in life when this happens a lot with, like, doing work on your house or DIY or that kind of things. You have to look at something that the people who put it in assume no one was ever going to look at it. They're like, we'll put all the wiring in the back of this cabinet, and then we'll literally, like, we'll close it with polyfiller and paint over it because no one's ever going to have to go in this cabinet. And when you chip away the filler and get the pry bar in and you crack that cabinet open because something doesn't work, at that point, if the wiring is done nicely and clean and neat and it is labeled and you know what's what, you're like, all right, good. Thank you, whoever did this. I know you probably thought no one was ever going to see it, but you did it anyway. If you go in and it's clearly someone going, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just we'll use the same color for all the cables. We'll just wire them in. We won't label shit. Just slap it all together, stick a cover over it. Let's get on to the next job. That makes that point in your life so much more difficult because you have, one, no idea what you're doing, and two, no indication that the people who did it in the first place gave a crap about whether it was good or not. And that's why I care about code being good code. I can absolutely believe that, and this doesn't mean it's a prediction. It means I can believe. Like if it turns out in a year's time that Claude Code is writing 95% of the code that goes to production, that will no longer surprise me. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but the other 5%, I don't want to get into a world where if a button needs to be 8 pixels wider, somebody uses a data center full of language models to make a button 8 pixels wider when you could just make the button wider. There are so many tiny little improvements you can make, particularly to front-end user interface, customer facing, the stuff people actually look at, where just a couple of pixels just get something to line up. And I do not want to get to a point where you are having to explain in English something that to a good front-end designer wouldn't have been a problem in the first place, because they'd have just got the thing right. Shall I patch the spec? Yes.
I think the other thing is I've now got to the point where I've read enough of the code that Claude writes and that Gemini writes. Actually, it comments it. It comments it way better. I mean, it comments some of it in ways that it didn't need commenting. But it does use sensible names. You don't get variables called A, B, and X, and that sort of thing. And so I think part of it is that I've learned to trust it. And yes, and then there's also the context is very important in this state. Last year at NDC Copenhagen, I had committed to creating a PowerPoint karaoke website, which ran on, I think it was running on Railway. It was using Cloudflare R2 storage for image caching. And it had this whole thing, and while you were talking, it displayed an image for 15 seconds. While that image was displayed, the audience could choose one of 6 images to be displayed next. And this was all done over WebSockets and all this sort of stuff. And the whole thing was written with Gemini. And because I wanted to try Gemini, I'd been using Claude and I wanted to try Gemini. And I finished that 45 minutes before the PowerPoint karaoke started at the end. So we went right the way through that. It worked. It did not crash. It went right the way through the entire evening, and it worked. And I had not looked at the code at all.
See, this is the problem, says Martin, when you jump in and change a thing in a way the agent wouldn't, and the agent can't understand as well. I'm going to resort to coarse language here. I don't give a fuck. I am not going to write code in a way that is optimized for agents to understand. I'm going to write code that's optimized in a way that it runs well and the people using it get a product that is good for them to use and works nicely. And if the agents are smart enough to do what they're claiming to do, then you shouldn't be able to confuse them by putting 8 pixels of padding on a button in the front end. Yes, I embrace the idea that there is a whole new set of tools available, but this whole thing of, oh no, you need to stop working like that because the tools won't like it. Nah. It's always been, so historically there's been this thing about libraries versus frameworks. And a framework is the thing that says you must write your code this way because otherwise the framework will get in the way. And a library is like, you do what you like. And when you need to encode a JPEG or whatever, then yeah, call me and I'll do that bit for you. And I have always enjoyed coding by composing libraries. And I have always found, opinionated frameworks. They're great up to a point, but then there's always a point where you're like, I can't actually do the thing that would make sense here because somebody has made somebody was often me. Somebody decided we were going to adopt a set of opinions wholesale about how to write code, and now we can't change our minds without a lot of complexity.
Yes.
But if I am capable of changing code in a way that an agent can't understand, then the agents need to get better. Or just admit that they're not going to be that good and we still need humans to do that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the ship sails on to phase 3, Captain. Multi-display enumeration.
And display manager await on the horizon. Cool. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Let's. I shouldn't swear on the internet, should I? There might be impressionable young minds watching.
Fuck them.
There we go. No, we don't need to do a three-way chat. There are so many places, Martin, you can put your opinions other than the chat on our stream.
Yes. I am happy to jump on a stream with you at some point, Martin, separately. Because we are in different places, and I think that's interesting. I think both of us are we've bought in to agentic programming, but Martin does have some different opinions, and I think that's there's an interesting discussion to be had there. I think maybe we could set one up with a couple of the other speakers, maybe get Ian Coops and David Whitney and do a sort of round table.
Yeah, I'd be up for that. Right, what do we get to? We've phase 2 got merged into main. When was that commit? 27th. That's today. Okay.
That's today. Yeah, that was the one.
So when I said ship it, it did the merge, pushed it into main. That's all fine. So the only outstanding things are settings. That's just the Claude history.
Yes, and Serena and Claude. So Claude settings, local JSON is the stuff that you don't want to set into source control.
We don't want that in source control.
You don't want that in source control.
Ignore settings.
Yeah.
So we want to unstage that, and we want to ignore settings.local.json and stop tracking. Yep, that's cool. So we did accidentally commit that yesterday, so now we're uncommitting it.
And yeah, the .serena stuff should be staged, but yeah.
Cool. All right. Right. So now we want to
let's do phase 3.
We get the developer hat to do phase 3, then we get the QA hat to review phase 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when I say phase 3, what that is referring to a implementation plan which the Claude with its technical architect hat wrote for us. And phase 3 here is multi-display, correct video on correct displays with a fallback PNG.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monitor enumeration edge cases.
Yeah.
Yes. See, this is the point at which I think the decision to focus 100% on Windows and use WPF was absolutely the right decision, because enumerating monitors on 3 different desktop platforms would have slowed us down a lot.
Yeah. There's a thing, just the whole, making... Are we going to get to a point where nobody ever touches code at all anymore? Because even like a tiny text change or updating the copyright in a footer or something, we do by asking an LLM to do it. There was a project a couple of years ago. It was a conference website for a community event that just had a little typo on one of their pages, and there should have been a full stop at the end of a line, and there wasn't. And I was like, that's easy to fix. And the JavaScript library that they were using, which was a set of, I think, React components, meant that you couldn't type a full stop at the end of the line. It just would not allow you to do it. And so you had to create a component which contained a text literal, which allowed you to put your full stop in and append it to the point where this was being rendered. And I remember just kind of going away slightly shell-shocked that we'd managed to put so many abstraction layers in building a relatively static website that you couldn't fix a typo anymore without having to create a component to do it.
Yes. Yes, the whole kind of
Yeah.
it's like the site that I'm building for my workshop is literally just HTML and some JavaScript and some CSS. But I have been in situations where somebody has been asked why the essentially single page static site that they were asked to do isn't ready yet, and they have explained that they have been battling with React server-side rendering because it changed from React 11 to React 12 or something, and you're just kind of like, what? It's so. And this is literally, it's a static site that has to download and then download again and rehydrate and do all that sort of stuff. And it's not even doing anything interactive. It is just people kind of like go, website, React.
It is fair to say that there's a lot of, I think, what Martin is saying is probably triggered this just a little bit. There's a lot of invective on a lot of platforms at the moment that are like, if you're not vibe coding everything and never looking at the code, then basically the word cooked gets thrown around a lot. And I think cooked means that you're screwed, you're finished, you're unemployable, you might as well just go and live under a bridge now. And I find that a very, very unpalatable way of conversing. This, you should be doing this, and if you're still doing that, then you're wrong and you're stupid. And I'm like, how do you know? We've got a handful of valid use cases over, a period of months, potentially years, for the very early adopters who've been pushing this thing hard. And I'm absolutely, to me, there is a big difference between, hey, try this new thing, and someone going, you have to stop doing the old thing.
Yes.
Let go. It doesn't, the thing that you have spent all, and this is, taps into a lot of the writing that's going on about the whole sort of the sense of existential dread, which is another factor, which is definitely a thing, is, new tools, amazing, but someone going, nope, you can't use the old ones anymore. You're not allowed to. Your skills are useless. You're going to get replaced by people vibe coding on OpenClaw using WhatsApp on their phones. I find it very, very, takes a great deal of effort to be balanced and impartial in those sorts of conversations. Go.
Two spec files to write: display manager and song scanner modified, load all to video engine.
Create a spec, yes.
Yeah.
And then let's have a look at it.
Yes, so we might not look at the code, but we do look at the specs and proposals and designs and things that it generates before we tell it to go ahead and implement them.
One of the big things I perceive as an advantage of the spec-driven approach is, if you review the spec and you're like, yes, that all looks correct, then at least if the code does the wrong thing, you know what the right thing looks like.
Yes.
Yep. Right, let's see. Okay, so we've got files that let's open up Typora. So we're in OpenSpec.
Changes phase 3. Specs.
So display manager, yep.
Hang on, what was that suffix thing? Okay, yeah.
Interesting. So this was a basically something that Claude just went, oh, we should probably do this, and we went, yeah, all right.
Yes.
And it was that if the file name contains underscore lyrics, then it should default to display index 1, and if it has underscore
Visuals.
was it visuals? Is that in
Yes. Here? Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah, look at the top there. Visuals is 2.
Yes. I mean, it'll work.
Yeah.
Having an entire method that says, I'm going to give you a key and a dictionary, and I want you to look for the key in the dictionary and give me back the value. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like, how is that just not
Dictionary, try get value.
You've got to build that, yeah, from somewhere. And
but yeah. I think it's because it's exposing the method. So there's this thing where you kind of like, there's lots of places where you could use dictionary.getValue or default or dictionary.tryGetValue.
Yeah.
But you wrap it in something with a little bit more semantic meaning.
Yeah. Let's see what it comes up with. Yep, MP4 as video and audio channel manifest. The channel ID shall be that. Yep. 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 What is fascinating to me about reading a spec that goes into this level of detail is when
we stop talking, we do it, and the stream goes silent.
When I was an undergrad, I remember one of our professors saying they used to write software. The analysts would write the spec, and the spec would be legal numbered, section 1, subsection 2, paragraph 3, and that would describe what the function had to do. And the team would be required to use the legal numbering in the names of the functions so they could refer them back to the specification. And then somebody would renumber the spec because they added a new bit, and suddenly none of the function names matched the points in the spec anymore. And, you know, it is very, very strange to me to see this degree of detail about how an individual method will be implemented in a markdown file, because everybody I know who is smart enough to write this spec would just write the damn method, and they wouldn't write it in markdown because it's a total waste of time. And if you gave it to a human being, they'd be like, why didn't you just implement this instead of writing? And I guess that's the thing that has completely changed here, is that the writing and reading of these documents is no longer has a sort of human cost associated with it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, just
this is the thing where, you know, I mean, you think like Gherkin was a sort of our previous attempt at spec-driven development.
But
where somebody came up with the hideous idea of writing things in a very kind of limited subset of English and then using regular expressions. And honestly, any time a sentence gets to regular expressions, you should stop saying it and seek help. But yes, I think the thing here is that it's not just the developer who understands this. It's not just this you could give to a stakeholder and say, is this what you meant? And they would be able to say yes, whereas you can't give them the methods that you've written.
I mean, I'm struggling to think who. I mean, how many stakeholders have you worked with who knew what task.when all does?
Well, yeah.
You know, it's this sort of weird. It's like the 1960s ideal of flawless programmers who have no soul and no imagination and will just implement what's in the spec, and analysts who don't have to write code because that's, you know, not what they do. It's just kind of weird to see something that has always been perceived as being an incredibly inefficient and archaic way of building software, not because there's anything fundamentally wrong with it, but because people just don't work that way. And now they're like, well, you know what? We've replaced the people, and now it turns out actually it does work. So
yes, I'm very sorry. I think I'm going to have to call this quits at this point. I am honestly not feeling great, and I'm going to go and lie back down and see if I can nap for an hour or something. So I will leave you to get this to a place.
Yes, I will implement the next bit. Keep an eye on the chat, and then
drop
off as well.
Cool. All right.
And yes, and we'll probably
get up again next week.
Next week. Yeah. All right.
Yes, for sure. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And then there was me, unsupervised. Right, let's run OPSX continue / OPSX continue. So Aneroid's comment, you can tell an LLM crashed the plane if there are 2 R's in strawberry. I'm pretty sure every single LLM out there now has a deterministic subroutine for counting the R's in strawberry, because they don't get that one wrong anymore, or at least Claude doesn't, and ChatGPT doesn't. Dylan unsupervised with Claude. It'll be fine. Yeah. All right. See, the downside about doing agentic development on your own is there's no one to talk to. It's just sitting there and it's churning and it's churning. And at some point it's going to spit out a bunch of code that might work or might not. But there's no bobbins. I'll tell you what I am going to do, why that does that. Aneroid X says, I wonder if Claude can recreate Rockstar from specs. Answer is yes. So the thing you got to remember about Rockstar is that the Rockstar spec is first and foremost a piece of comedy writing, and is designed, it was written to make human beings laugh. And then somebody on the internet implemented it because you cannot come up with anything so dumb that people on the internet won't implement it. And I mean, the whole, to me, Rockstar, as much kind of fairly hardcore engineering as there is in getting a parser and an interpreter and cross-compiling those for WebAssembly and Linux and macOS and Windows, it's still comedy. It's not for anything real. So yeah, you're welcome to use LLMs to do Rockstar, but honestly, at that point, all you're doing is you're burning down rainforests to do pointless stuff faster, and nobody gets to laugh at it. Yep. Apply. I mean, the interesting question, just following on from the chat we had a moment ago about should you still read the code? Do you need to read the code? Does the code even matter? Is, well, if the code doesn't matter, why are we writing it? Are we approaching a point where you ask Claude to just build you a, an x64 binary file that does it? And if you find a bug in it, you just throw it away and make a new binary file. Yes, and don't ask again. It's funny, any of you folks have been watching me online for a while. Sinet says, am I still on Pro? Yes, I am still on Pro. I'm still on the $15 a month, whatever it is, plan. I haven't upgraded. I have run out of tokens twice. But in each case, it's like, well, I was sort of done for the day anyway. But one of those was because I decided to see if Claude could take a video of a presentation, extract each slide that was presented in the video, and translate it into English, because the presentation was not in English, and then make me a PDF with the original slide image at the top of the screen and then the English translation underneath. And it ran out of tokens doing that, and I haven't gone back and tried it again. Yep, allow all edits during the session. LLMs versus, I assume ML here is machine learning. ML beat the chess grandmaster in the late 1990s, but LLMs 25 years later can't beat average players. There's only so far a word association engine can go. And yeah, fair observation. There are things that are very much about predicting. The thing about chess is if you play the most probabilistically likely move, which is not the same as the best move. It's like you take a look at, imagine you had a position on a chessboard, or any kind of strategic game, and you took 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 instances of that position on that chessboard, and you said, what is the most statistically likely thing to happen next? What you're going to get is an incredibly average game of chess. And I mean average there in the mathematical sense, right, the smack in the middle of the bell curve. and good players win by being better than the average. And yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm wondering why it is running Python. I have noticed that the tools seem to reach for Python quite often if they need to do something. CRLF line endings, I'll use sed for the replacement. Interesting. I mean, there is the approach of just keep hammering go, 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 and eventually the tool will figure out what it did wrong or what the problem is or what has changed, and it will fix it, and it will fix it, and it will fix it. There is a voice in my head that is saying, if it can't write a C# file, you probably want to figure out whether that might be important. Yeah. Cyanoid X, I see Opus often check. I've seen various ChatGPT has done this as well, as if you ask it to do something with like a media file or a piece of video. Is this thing going to go through every... So what I'm guessing now, I have no idea why it is suddenly getting so confused, but it clearly is getting thrown by the Windows style new lines, which is dumb because it's running on Windows. Now, the people saying some kind of encoding issue, we haven't modified this code. Like, at no point have I opened up this stuff and saved it in an editor or anything. So whatever problem is happening is something that could have been caused by Git, because Git has new line character return or CRLF to LF transliteration on Windows. But the fact that it appears to be writing Python scripts to modify all the files because it can't cope with the new lines, I think that's what's going on. I'd be very, very curious to see what the outcome of this process is. Okay. Yes. All right. Can you get it to argue itself about tabs or spaces? I did work on a project many years ago that somehow had got the whole file was indented with 3 spaces and then tabs. So like the first level of indentation, this was in JScript code. And so the first level of indentation was space, space, space. But then after that, space, 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 tab, space, 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 tab, tab, space, 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 tab, tab, tab. And several people opened the project, looked at this file, and committed changes that obeyed that style instead of correcting it. And to this day, I have no idea whether like there was some editor that folks were using on the team that was smart enough to just follow the style that was there, or whether they did it manually on purpose. It's really, really weird. Okay. Git commit. Yeah, there's our git commit message. Do you want to proceed? Yeah. And so the workflow that we've been using in these sessions is we get to this point where Claude, with the developer's hat on, has finished or thinks it's finished the implementation. So we got to do a manual check here on a couple of things. Connect second display, verify 2 VLC display window instances, AV sync check with 2 simultaneous video streams. And yep, okay. So what I want to do now, there's 2 things I'm going to do now. First of all, we're going to open up another terminal, and I'm going to spin up Claude in this one. There we go. All right, so we're on a feature branch. We're on phase 3 multi-display manager. So I want to run Claude minus system prompt, and this time I'm going to run Claude with the QA engineer hat. Okay, that's fine. Yep, there we go. We got another Serena MCP dashboard popped up over there. Aneroid just says, I'm listening to the audio via YouTube, but watching the video and chat via Twitch. The synchronization probably glitches a little bit, which is ironic given the domain that we're working in here. So in a moment, I'm going to get the Claude with the QA engineer hat on to review that code and highlight any problems with it. Before we do that, I'm going to do a build and publish and see what it's actually built and whether it works. So .NET publish video jam minus output publish. Now what should happen here is when I hit load folder, it should load a folder which has multiple, so this stems folder here. There are no files visible because this is a folder browser, not a file browser. But if I select that and then hit play, it should show 2 video screens on 2 different monitors. This might work. I think it probably will work. If it doesn't work, it could fail in any number of hilarious ways, up to and including crashing the stream. So let's see what happens. So when I hit play, right. What you folks can't see here is that when did I last back up my PC? I don't back up the whole thing. All of my actual important data. Yeah, you folks can't hear anything because I'm not sharing audio on that. What happened there is that it brought up an always on top modal undismissible video window in front of its own form. So when I ran it, if I stop sharing and then resume sharing, and I'm going to share the desktop audio as well. So let's share that one with system audio, share that. So yeah, there's nothing to click to open a config interface. So if I run this again, so first of all, the whole point we're trying to validate here is that it should play video on 2. So I got 2 videos here. There's that one. And if I load the folder, that one. All right, and now I load a video file. Okay. Now I'm going to move this window. Okay, so one, it's WPF, so it means when you run it from the console, you lose the context. You can't control C it. You can't kill it that way. So I'm going to put this window here somewhere I can still get to it. All right. And now when I hit play, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's only showing a single. Now this is the point where the you need to understand the code bit becomes interesting. Connect second display. Verify appears on 2 screens. And being that's Hotel California right now, it's just a random chord sequence in D minor. I got the smart session instruments in Logic to spit out 6 minutes of stuff we could use. You cannot use real songs because you get copyright strikes on the stream, or copyright, warnings. Right. So. So. Now this is the point where I'm like, I have never done this before. This is my first time getting to this point in a spec-driven Claude Code, machine-assisted development project. And I'm getting that experience of when somebody on the team is like, it's done, and you're like, all right, and you look at it and you're like, this doesn't look done to me, but maybe I've missed something. Let's make sure that I understand exactly what it is that I'm looking at before I push this back. Now, the reason why you do that on a human team is that you don't want to be the person who rejects everything and then they go, no, you need to click go to make it work. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Is that true anymore? I don't know. Right. So I am only getting one video window. What's going on? Oh, Backsyndrome says, do you have to load both videos? Okay, maybe. So you think maybe I need to load video. So the counting audio sounds doubled. That's a valid observation. The reason is that there is an audio track in the video as well, which is getting played. So you're hearing the audio from the isolated audio tracks, but you're also hearing the count that's coming from the video track. And the synchronization there is not perfect. It's close enough. I think it's within a couple of milliseconds. So you get what sounds more like a chorus, like a stereo doubling effect, than an actual delay. Okay. So let's try load video, audience viz, and then load video, bar and beat count, and then load folder. And again, I'm moving this out of the way so that 1, 2. Yeah, I'm still only getting one screen. All right. Okay. Found it. Let me trace the exact code path so it's clear. In onload clicked, we call songscanner.scan. Now I'm going to, let's see whether that is true. So the diagnostic for this says, what? No, I want, that can go. That can go. I want code dot is what I want because I want it to open in the current folder. Okay, so Claude says in onload clicked, we call songscanner.scan, and then empty routing falls back to primary display index equals 0. Option A gets multi-display verified in about 2 minutes of code. Yes, please use option A. But first of all, what I want to do is let's just have a look at the kill that. And okay. Oh, that's just a getting. No, that's fine. So what I want to do is I want to look at the diff that so Android X is right. It's two always on top windows being drawn on the same screen at the same time, I think is what's going on here. So please use option A and do not commit it to Git. Actually, I can commit to Git. We're on a feature branch. I'm interested in seeing how big this changes in terms of what's actually changed in the code. The other thing I'm going to do while that thing does that is I'm going to open After Effects, which is the tool that I use to create those task sample videos, and I'm going to make two which are much more visually distinct, because at the moment I got two compositions with gradient backgrounds. So this is audience visualization. So I'm going to rename that to be bar count with yellow background. And that one there, I'm going to delete the gradient overlay, and I'm going to go layer solid settings, and we're going to change this one to be yellow. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And then the other one, I am going to change that, and this is going to be bar count with blue background. And black solid 1. I'll delete the gradient overlay effect from that. So scrub that one. And layer solid 1 settings. That's gonna be blue. There we go. Okay. So you want a scrolling gradient? Yeah, we can do a scrolling gradient. All right. So to do that, we are going to layer style, boom, 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 gradient overlay. There's the gradient. And then what we got to do is we are going to say the gradient offset, which is this thing here. Okay. A scrolling gradient requires arithmetic, but what we can do is we can make it spin. Let's make the gradient spin. That'll give us something a little bit more engaging. So let's reset that to 0, 0. And the way that After Effects works is we're going to drop in a keyframe here that says at the beginning, this is going to be 0. And this clip is 200 bars long. So if I drop in on the exact keyframe here, which is the point where we hit bar 200, which is there. And then we say at that point, I want this to be 200 full rotations. We should now get a gradient which does 1 full spin for every full bar of music. And let's go
1, 2, 3.
Ah, look at that! Isn't that pretty? And yeah, I'll put a thing on the top of this. So this one, I'll just say audience video. Drag that right up to the top, and why can't I see that? Probably because the frame is there. It is. All right. Okay, and then the other one, which is bar count with yellow background, we'll drop a thing on that, and this will be the performer video. All right. Boom, save that. Let's open up media encoder. I see you're playing with AI. I am learning AI because it seems like it might be quite important, and I have not been able to spend as much time playing around with it as I would like over the last few months. And so I have the last couple of streams has been me and Randall, who is very good at this kind of thing and has spent a lot more hours with it than I have, kind of going through it step by step. But they dropped off because they ate a dodgy banana or something. And so the last part of today's stream is just me figuring out a couple of things with a WPF application. The scenario is do you want to proceed? Yes, it's okay. Yes, what I am trying to do is to objectively learn for myself what AI, how good is it right now? And then I have a kind of fixed point to assess in a couple of weeks or a couple of months what has changed and how much better it's got and what's improved, and is it any cheaper and is it any faster? This is, suffice to say, a radically different way of creating software than anything I've ever done in my career, and I've done a lot of weird things. And we just got to a point where, having given it a lot of very detailed specifications and incremental development, it said, it's done. And I looked at it and I'm like, it's not done. The thing you have done is not the thing we wanted to happen here. And so I've prompted it and it should be fixing that. Okay, let's grab those two preview videos. So bar count. Audience video, and that one will be performer video. I'm going to sling those onto Adobe Media Encoder and press go, and that will take a couple of minutes to churn through. There's nothing terribly complicated in there. Yep, okay, cool. My Pirate Claude has a warning in the lower right saying it's about to recompact. Is it? So Surly says, wait until you get to learn about Squad. So I've heard about Squad and teams of agents doing the whole thing. Right, so this now reckons that... so Squad is definitely on the list of things to look at, but I'm very much like one step at a time, and at each point be like, right, what's the difference between where we were a moment ago and where we are now? And is where we are now a good point to build on? Okay, so we've got, that's cool. Let's have a look at the close out of that. Yep, auto root suffixes, main window. That's So it would appear from I have no idea, Danny. I'm not keeping an eye on it. So yeah, I don't. So Anthropic should sponsor. Yeah, I don't particularly want. I mean, it's always nice to get money for doing stuff that you'd be doing anyway, because then you do the thing you were going to do in the first place, and you can pay bills and buy guitars and stuff. But I think that Anthropic sponsoring something like this would cause questions around impartiality. And okay, now this is interesting here, because the way that this has been implemented, there was a sort of throwaway comment in the earlier design phases where just looking at the comments in the chat, Surly says, I understand you start how things build aside trying to projects, much to the chagrin of colleagues who will run ahead when they think they see the exit, not realizing they're like they get in a mirror maze and the exit directly ahead has perspex walls that he'll hit when he decides to go at full pelt. Yes, there's a lot of experience, the difference between running for the exit and smacking yourself face first into a plate glass door. Right. I think there is an assumption here which has been embedded in a lot of the stuff that has happened behind the scenes, which the humans have interpreted as a bit of a footnote that probably doesn't really matter. Let's have a look at that. Okay. So what's happened here? Now, this is interesting, is that at some point, either I said or it suggested, is the test project something like Guitarioki? Yes, it is. It is. If this all works, then the next iteration of Guitarioki events will be running off this software that I am building over the course of these streams. Yeah, we have this thing about, yeah, okay, we'll probably have like a video file called _lyrics and another one called _visuals or something. And that, which to me was a kind of, yeah, I guess that might work later, has been baked in as a technical requirement specification for part of the way the system works. So that's actually been hardwired in now. So to get it to work, what I'm gonna need to do, I think, is so let's close that, is to create video files which have different suffixes on them. Okay, so that spat out a couple of video files. So let's grab that, and I'm gonna jump up into this stems folder here. I'm going to delete those two video files, which are from yesterday, drop those in. But then I'm going to rename that one to be video_performers. Hang on. And that one to be video_audience.mp4, because I think that it's not setting up multiple devices unless there are multiple suffixes. So let's see how that behaves. So I've got a window here somewhere that's just a regular. Did I? I had a window here somewhere that's just an ordinary PowerShell window. There it is. All right. So same deal. I'm going to stick that over there in case it draws something in front of its own file. I'm going to load that folder. If I hit play.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You folks see that?
10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
All right.
25. 26. 27.
Okay. It works. Success. Yeah, the song, I'm going to put the song on Spotify and retire on the streams. So, is the bar count audio ahead of the video? So one, you folks are watching this on the other end of a live stream, which is being relayed via StreamYard. So audio visual sync issues. There's a million reasons why that won't work, and the software that I am working on here is only one potential reason. Switch back to that one. From here, I think there's maybe about a 5 millisecond, maybe 10 millisecond delay between the audio and the video. As far as I can tell, the two video streams are playing in synchronization. So that's a sort of much gnarlier one. It wouldn't surprise me at all if in the finished version I have to bake in like just a fixed offset. Because there's this weird thing, which has nothing to do with technology, it's to do with humans. If you see something before you hear it, your brain just goes, oh, well, it must be a long way away. That makes perfect sense. If you hear something before you see it, it goes horrible, because your brain's like, that's impossible, because light travels faster than sound. So there is no way that I can be hearing something before I see it. So that's uncanny and unpleasant. Sync Zero wants to play drums over the internet, fix the latency. There's a thing I used to play around with, a tool called Ninjam. And Ninjam basically allowed you to jam over the internet, because instead of fixing the latency, they just went, well, we're going to give you 1 bar of latency. So you'd play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then everyone else gets that a full bar later than you played it, but then you get whatever they did a full bar later. So you get these really weird, like once you lock into a groove and a chord progression, you get these very, very odd syncopated effects and stuff, but it does actually sound quite creative. Okay, so we have unearthed not a hidden requirement, but a requirement that we hid by putting it in the requirements. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, live streaming any kind of high fidelity audio visual over the internet is always going to be a bit of a crapshoot anyway. Okay. So we got as far as, I think we've validated now all the bits of heavy lifting, which is, can you play multiple audio files and video playing onto separate physical displays? There is a lot of outstanding requirements. Yep. So let's now do the, right, let me just see where we got to. I'm going to, okay, so next step is to get the QR, get Claude to put the QR code, the QA, not QR code, QA engineer hat on. And I just want to dig something up before we do that. Yep. See, we're going to take a very short break because I need to refill my water glass. But before we do that, I'm just going to upload something fun. So you'll get something to watch while we take a short break, and we don't get a copyright strike, because this is actual original music that I properly wrote all by myself, instead of music that I borrowed bits of it from somebody else. And so as soon as this is uploaded, any other questions in the chat before we... And when I say take a short break, I'll be off for like 2 minutes and then probably back on for like 15 minutes. And then as soon as we've done the QA review bit for today, enjoy the woodshop, Vax Headroom. There's something very satisfying about building tangible things out of actual bits of wood and stuff. Software's all very well, but there's only so much fun you can have with bits. So one of the things on our sort of bucket list is to vibe code a replacement for StreamYard, so we don't have to pay their renewal this year. Right, we are going to take a short break for 4 minutes and 34 seconds. And here is some light entertainment, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, welcome back. So Surly says, ooh, GitHub is down. GitHub may not be down. The thing about that project is that the visualization is a network of commits, but I haven't pushed anything to that project for 5 years. And GitHub does not deal particularly well with a project that hasn't had any commits for 5 years. So it'll take about 15 or 30 seconds for it to pull up the network graph. But when you do, it looks like this, because that is actually the cymbals and the kick drum and the bass and the guitars and the synth pads and everything all being merged into that project, because I wrote a real bash script to do the commits and everything so I could get the structure of the graph right. So Surly got the fail unicorns. Well, at least they're unicorns, you know. And have I ever tried writing music in something like Strudel? I don't even know what Strudel is. Should I know what Strudel is? I was joking about a PR, and Dylan called my bluff. Oh, yeah. Can you link it? Of course you can link it. Yeah, go for it. Absolutely fine. Although I don't know if the link will come through on the restream thing. But strudel.cc/workshop/getting. We'll take a little quick look at that. And then we'll QA what we've done today. Strudel.cc/workshop/getting started. Welcome to Strudel. Oh, this looks neat. I've done a bunch of stuff with Sonic Pi, which is a live performance coding visualization language that lets you write loops and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, cool. Anyway, right. Let's wrap up what we're going to do today. So the last part of this sort of spec-driven development process is we have verified manually that I can play 2 different videos on 2 different windows at the same time. So what I'm going to do now, this is Claude wearing its, if I say, who are you? Claude is going to say, I'm a .NET WPF engineer and a pirate. Ahoy, Captain, I'm Claude, your AI first mate. I sail under the colors of a battle-hardened WPF engineer. So we're going to open up another window. And in the other window, we're going to run Claude with a different hat on. Assuming I don't already have another Claude window. There we go. So this is another Claude window. And if I say, who are you? This Claude should say, I'm a QA engineer who's also an English butler. I am your quality assurance engineer, meticulous, unflappable professional. Okay, so what do we want the QA to do? So at this point, we're like, I see we are currently on branch phase 3 multi-display scanner with a recent commit implementing a display manager. Yes. Please review the work. How does it look? Now, while this is churning away in the background, let me tell you how I'm feeling right now about the state of this project. It is successfully doing some things that are going to be important. It is playing multiple audio streams and playing video on different monitors and kind of solving the heavy lifting bits. There's a stray button in there. There's a load video button that shouldn't be there, and I'm not sure whether I should be ignoring it or not. I'm sort of trying to say, nope, at this point, this is proof of concept. It's early phases. It should be cheap to fix these things later. I certainly have, and this is, I guess, as much a sign of the rate of change of the craft of software development as anything else. I'm a little freaked out at having code that I guess I'm responsible for. And, in a way, the responsibility here is nice. There's this phrase mission critical that happens in software that people are like, well, it's not, it's not healthcare, it's not aviation, it's not military, it's none of those things. The best counterpoint to that I ever heard was an old Reddit thread years ago. Where someone was like, no, but I write firmware on the cameras that professional photographers use at weddings. If our software doesn't work, somebody's paid $100,000 to get married and they don't have any photos of it. Do you think that photographer is ever going to trust us again? Do you think anyone else in the industry is ever going to trust us again once the stories get out? Mission criticality is all about, well, what's the mission? And I'm building, or the reason I want this piece of software, the reason I want Video Jam to exist is so I can get a few dozen people into a pub and plug in some speakers and we can all sing along and play music together and have a good time. And getting a couple of dozen people into a pub isn't the kind of thing you can turn around and go, thanks everyone, could you all come back tomorrow? Like, we had a bit of a problem with the software on Saturday night, so how about you all come and we'll do guitar karaoke on Sunday night instead. So there is a degree of mission criticality. If this thing doesn't work, then one, it blows a perfectly good opportunity to have a lot of fun with a lot of people, and two, it reduces the likelihood that any of those people is going to turn up again next time, because last time they went to guitar karaoke, it was a disaster because of software bugs. So I do care. I have a certain amount of if I was to take this out and actually run it, and at the moment I'm like, well, it worked twice for 30 seconds. It's probably all right. I am going to need to come up with a maybe, should we say, a new model of confidence, because confidence for me used to be that I'd read every line of code and understood what it did, and I'm starting to get the impression that maybe the future does not work like that anymore, and there are going to be other models that we can use. So Lex Wolf, working with stuff feels like stepping from a writing role into an editing one, less hands-on. Yeah, I mean, I will absolutely defend the perspective that every piece of code that gets merged into production, a human being is responsible for it, even if they didn't write it. And the whole, someone going, well, I wrote the prompt and everything just merged and deployed straight to prod. I'm like, I don't care. That's still you. You caused that to happen. The responsibility is yours. The accountability is yours. The liability is yours. I don't have any viruses. Microsoft Defender would like all of you to know that I currently do not have any viruses. Okay. So cool. That's looking pretty good. Micro 500. How do you currently run these shows? So the way I've always run it previously is one, I've never done the different shows, a different video on different displays. There is one video, and it is the band can see it and the audience can see it, and that is a limitation that we've just kind of worked around. But it means when, like in Line Breakers shows, when I'm making the audience visualization videos, I now make the effort to have the words appear early enough that if you've forgotten what you're supposed to sing next, you could read them. So it becomes something more like karaoke than a music video, because you can do some really cool kinetic type effects with synchronizing it to the music. For Guitarioke, what I did was a 5.1 mix with each instrument on a different 5.1 channel running through a USB audio device into a sound desk, which meant that I had lead, rhythm, and bass guitar on left, right, and center, and then the back left and back right would be a stereo mix for the backing tracks, the drums and, you know, keyboards and stuff. One, I don't like the limitation that that's only 3 instruments, because if somebody turns up with a saxophone, I'd love to mute the sax track and get them up to play that. And 2, it would be so much nicer if you could just do it in software instead of having to take a lot of additional hardware and be able to mix whatever stems you've got in real time and do that for real. So but how I currently run these shows is I actually stopped doing, so line breakers are still a thing. I stopped doing guitar karaoke because I was like, I will do this again when there is a better solution for it in software, and I haven't had time to get around to it. Okay, so let's check task 616263. Remind me what 6162 and 63 are. I could go and look in the implementation plan for this spec. Totally unrelated to the next version of Guitarioke, but if AI meets your expectations, would you still trust enough to work with it on Rockstar? Let me ask you a question, Jake. Would you sit down at home one evening and tell AI to tell you jokes, and then you just sit there for a couple of hours and you watch and laugh as AI tells you jokes? Because I wouldn't. I do not think that comedy is ever anything that should be automated, because it is, I think it's a very fundamental art form that is about insight and human beings externalizing their own kind of bemusement at the state of the world and shared experience. And I do not think that there is any point in getting AI to do stuff. And, you know, Rockstar is a comedy project. It's not real. It doesn't do anything important. I have considered trying to use AI tools to build things like a syntax highlighter, like a laser grammar, so I can run it with CodeMirror online. Okay, so what do we got going back to the stream here? Yeah, I mean, would I trust enough? I don't give a crap about Rockstar. It's fun. You know, it's silly. If Rockstar goes wrong, yeah, you know, that doesn't even lose me any money, because Rockstar has never made any money for anything ever. And so yeah, I'm far more invested in something like this, where at the very least there's a few people in a pub hoping to see a fun show, than I am in anything to do with Rockstar. Rockstar's just a joke. It's daft. Okay, 6.1, yep, is done. We did that one. Verify AV sync. Check the debug log for the AV. Just catching up on the chat here. Yep. The beauty about context engineering is you can program an AI computer with natural language instead of ones and zeros. Yeah, I think there's a new kind of skill going to develop. I've spent 30 years with human beings telling me in natural language what the computer has to do, and then often getting upset because that's not what they meant, or obviously it shouldn't have done that, or you forgot to do this thing, or it should have done this other thing that I didn't tell you about because I assumed it was obvious. And the communication has never been the barrier. You know, we've had assembly, and then we've had C and Lisp and those languages, and then we had object-oriented and, you know, COBOL and Visual Basic and all these languages. You know, COBOL and VB are the two that stand out as, if we make programming look like language, then it'll be much easier. And what we realized is actually it's not much easier. It's just now you've got to write the logic using a weird form of English. And the question, or a question about all this is, does it limit programming to those who can read, write programming languages? There are people online saying, well, in a year, we won't have any more programming languages. We'll just have LLMs writing binaries and deploying them straight to the cloud or straight onto your phone. And yeah, and so we got a lot of the same issues. So just catching up on the chat. All the streams into an MKV file. Use Claude to create a C# Guitarioke library. Yeah, absolutely. Input latency, yes. The input latency on some of the devices I did a show once in Romania at Code Camp in Bucharest, and I sort of said, this is the deal, laptop on stage, running the big screen there. It's amazing. It was outdoors, fantastic arena, you know, with a bar with drinks and a dance area, really amazing, you know, LED matrix display screen, great sound system. And there was no HDMI from the stage, because they're like, no, the laptop goes behind the engineering desk, which is 50 meters away, and that runs the video, and then you plug the instruments in on the stage. And I'm like, oh, have you got a really long HDMI cable? And they were like, no, we don't. I'm like, okay. So what I did is I had the laptop on the stage in front of me playing to a private YouTube stream over the conference Wi-Fi. And then I had another laptop backstage, kind of behind the mixing desk area, which was playing that YouTube stream full screen, which meant that there was about, I think it was about 9 seconds of latency. And so I used a Mac OS audio processing plugin tool to delay, basically to delay the output WAV by exactly 9 seconds, so that what came up on the big screen lined up perfectly with the sound, and then I let the sound drive the thing, and it worked great, except when I accidentally looked at the laptop screen to see where I was in the show, because obviously that was 8 seconds earlier than where it should have been. Yeah. But yeah, some sort of latency is inevitable with hardware and wires and things, and offset compensation. Yeah, Android X says I use audio delay on VLC when I'm watching anything with Bluetooth headphones. I can't believe the extent to which the world has just gone, yeah, Bluetooth's fine. I don't care that everything I watch is slightly out of sync. Like, how did we spend this much money on these amazing devices? And then people are like, I'm just going to watch crappy movies where the sound doesn't line up. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'm a little more stringent than the average consumer. Right, 6.1, connect a second display, launch the app, load a folder. That looks good. We verified that. 2 displays. Yes, that's fine. AV sync, we verified that. Deliberately point one video path at a missing file. Well, we can't do that at the moment because there's no... we can't do 6.3 because video files loaded. Actually, we can, but it'll be... Yeah, let's test it. Let's see if it works. What I'll need to do is to scan the thing to load the manifest for all the files. And then having done that, we are going to need to rename one of those files before we start playback. Let's see what happens if I do that. All right. So if I load that stems folder, now that says no video file selected, which is wrong, and there's some glitches in here which I would be clamping down on harder. Did I look at the debug log? Let's have a look at the debug log. Question 1, where is the debug log? Okay. All right. So it is debug logging, but it isn't actually setting up any logging output. So cute. That's the git commit. Let's just see what it actually did. Yeah. Yeah, console gets scrambled. You just need to I got a slightly eccentric console setup. It's PowerShell on a Windows terminal with Oh My Posh, which does Unicode injection into the actual terminal prompt. So I'm not surprised that that's going wrong once in a while. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. Yes, that's fine. Right, let's do that again. I still had it open and it can't overwrite the binary while it's actually running. So now if we do a publish.videojam.exe, the question is, do I need to do a .NET run to get console output? And I think I probably do. But the easiest way to fix that, now this, right into the moment of, should I be modifying the code to do this, or should I be telling Claude to modify the code to do this? Because what I want to do is I want to output one line of logging when we start the application, so that if nothing's getting logged, we know straight away that nothing is getting logged. Keeping the theme, tell Claude. Yeah, I think you're probably right. So this is Claude with this is our engineer's hat. Please log a single line of output log.info log level when we start the app with the application version and the timestamp of the .exe binary file. Yep. I think Claude's pronouns are Claude. Claude needs to prove Claude's self. Aneroidex reminds me of an old commercial aviation joke. In the future, planes will be flown by one pilot and one dog. The pilot's job is to feed the dog, and the dog's job is to bite the pilot if they try to touch any of the controls. Llewellyn says, did you just tell the programmer to do that without telling the analyst that informs the architect that instructs the developer to add a line to the... Yes, I did. I know. This should have been a change request. The Prince2 methodology. I should have gone back to the original requirements analyst and had another conversation. Yeah, it's fine. That's, I mean, to some extent, that's a legit question, you know. One of the perennial questions of all the software projects that I've ever worked on and all the teams I've worked with is how much process, you know, at what point, how do you know the difference between I will just fix this and I need to make sure that this change is communicated with the whole team. And actually, this needs to go all the way out to potentially customers with, hey, we think it would be better if we did this. You know. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So let's see what happens now if we do a .NET publish and we run it. Okay, interesting. So we get no console logging if we run it like that. But if we do a .NET run minus project videojam.csproj, interesting. Still no output logging there. I'm going to drop in 10 minutes, folks. And next week we'll both be back. Like I said, I'm looking forward to getting to the point where we are actually dealing with kind of high fidelity user interface engineering, because that's the thing where I want to know, how do you build a UI with this thing? Do you still edit XAML files yourself? Do you give it Figma things? Do you give it screenshots? Could I, like, you know, I've worked with clients before who would literally scribble on the back of a scrap of paper, hey, the UI should look like this, and they'd scribble on it. Is it good enough that I can hold that up to a camera? And Claude will go, yeah, I see what you mean. That's a lot of green. I thought that might happen. So WPF, as soon as you run the application, it detaches itself from the terminal where you started it, which means that console.log doesn't know where to go. Now this might actually be a breaking change, because... Okay, so it's a silent no-op. So attach console returns false when there's no parent console. So if we double-click it in Explorer, it'll just run. If we run it from the console, it'll log to the console it ran from, I think. Okay. So let's try that again. Cool. All right. So there's that, and now I'm going to do that load folder thing that we talked about, and I'm going to play that. And I'm going to play that, and it's going to freeze, and it's not going to do anything, and nothing is happening. There we go.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All right. All right, cool. Delta T 0.27 milliseconds. Doubt.gif. Maybe that's true. That's incredibly tight if it is. Like that rounds down to 0 expressed as milliseconds, so it's probably fine. Did you record the whole count, or did you have some? I recorded the whole count. I sat there for 6 minutes, and I went 1, 2 into a microphone, all the way up to 199, 200. Should the app open its own separate test? So this, at the moment, the only reason we need logging is because we have decided that one of our acceptance criteria for this iteration is to check this delta t, which is the synchronization delay between the streams. And the only reason we need to do that is because we said it was a requirement, and we can't do that without logging somewhere. I like the idea that if you just run it from a console like this, it's gonna log it. If I do that, let's see what happens if we just run the exe. Yep, okay, that's cool. That's the window there, so that works. Okay, so the QA, the logging is in. We have verified that. Which one is this? Who are you? There needs to be a shorter who are you. Like there should be just probably a thing. Still the same salt weathered first mate. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right. So that's our developer. Okay, so walk me. So 6.1 and 6.2 are good. All right. That's what I thought. Create a folder, place inside it a real audio stem, a thing, and a file that gets picked up by the scan. Load folder, finds the MP4s, status should read folder loaded, delete the decoy file, press play. That's what I thought. It's quite cool that it. Who are you? Yeah, that should be the prompt. Okay, so let's see if that works. So what have I got to do? I got to load the folder. I'm going to open that folder there. Yep, that has loaded a bunch of stuff, including the video files. So now if I go into wherever my stems were, which is here, and let's rename one of those. Actually, you know what? I'm going to rename both of them. And so what I'm expecting to get now is black screens and audio. Hmm. Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, all right. So that didn't work. Okay. The dissonance between what the the steps here say is going to happen and what actually happens is kind of disconcerting. In a almost a very human way, like it's confused, and it can't be confused because it's a probabilistic model that predicts tokens. So and try something. I wonder if it is possible to copy and paste a image into a Claude prompt. So if I load that folder, there we go. And now I go back over here and I rename those files. Okay. And now I click play. Okay. So, okay on that. Kill that. What do you reckon? If I paste this error into here. Nah, you can't paste. Sad. But what you can do is, if I thought of this while I still had the thing open, because if you press Control-C while an error message in Windows has the focus, you can copy the text from the error message. So back onto there, load folder. If you're watching this and thinking, he's taken a very long time to verify stuff that would be trivial to do if you just fix the code, I kind of agree with you, but that's not the point of the exercise. So if I grab that, Control-C on there, and then back to Claude and paste. Boom. Did you know you could do that? It's neat. Alt-V pastes an image into Claude code. Okay, that's neat. So image, Control-C, back to Claude code, Alt-V. Ah, thank you. Why would you be this smart and then not use Control-V for paste like every other application on the planet? Yeah. If this isn't fixed in 1 minute, I'm parking it and going to come back to it next week. Defect report. Def001. Yep. Fix it. Yeah. It occurs to me that the long interludes where you're sat here watching it, Julianing is what it's doing right now. would lend themselves very well to programming while you're also doing something else, like practicing the bass guitar or doing reps in a gym or any number of other things that you can do for 2 minutes at a time. Petting the cat, sword fighting on rolly chairs. Yeah. Possibilities are endless. Multitasking is the glorious future. The AIs write code while we supervise them, which none of us will be able to get paid for. But in between watching the AI thing, you'll be able to make music that you can't get paid for. I used to, many years ago, I spent a lot of time with POVRay, the persistence of vision ray tracer, which was a change one detail, let it render for 3 hours. And I got to a point where the computer, like I wouldn't leave the house without starting a render because it was a waste. You know, the computer had to be running all the time doing things, and whenever you got back, you'd be like, let's have a look. Oh yeah, almost, not quite right. Move that a little bit, start it again, get to bed, wake up in the morning, take a look, do that, go and have breakfast, pop back at lunchtime, check it out, not quite right. Yeah. How is Claude doing this session? What do we think, chat? How is Claude doing this session? Bad, fine, good, or dismiss? I mean, I'm thinking 3. It's yeah, seems all right. Fine or good? Right, well, while that's done, we should be able to... All right, load folder, yes, fine. Back to here, find a video file, right-click it, or F2, renamed, there's that. Okay, hit play. The system cannot find the file specified. Let us check that has actually rebuilt. Okay, let's check that actually once. 2. Yep, okay, so far so good. Load folder. All right. And back over here and rename one of those again and play. Ooh, did I just... I did a bad thing. I asked the QA engineer to fix the bug. No wonder it didn't work. That's a pirate job, and we got the butler to do it. I'm going to come back to this next week because I have this feeling that we are. Yeah. We found a bug. We said fix it. It said I fixed it. It's not fixed. And the like, one more time thing is, yeah. No, I'm going to wrap it up. I got stuff to do. Thank you for tuning in, folks. I hope you all found that interesting. And yeah, well, both of us hopefully back on next week, Monday or Tuesday, and then next weekend, Randall and me are both going to be in Malmö in Sweden at Beauty and Code. Can I run /status? Yes, absolutely, I can run /status. Huh? That's not what status normally does, is it? Usage. 70% of tokens used, yeah. Yeah, okay. Cool, all right. Take it easy, folks. You'll have a great weekend. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.